Uhuru, everybody. I want to welcome you all to today's important study and Uhuru movement event. This is our regularly scheduled um, Revolutionary National Democratic Program study that we do every Thursday. But one Thursday out of both July and February, we use this study to raise funds for Black Power 96. So this study is a part of the Black Power 96 July fund drive. My name is Matsamela Odom. I'm the international president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. The International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is a mass organization underneath the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We're located on no less than three continents, no less than 10 and even more countries now with a rapid growing membership on the continent of Africa and Europe. We have members in the Caribbean and no less than 20 states here in North America. This year is an important year for the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement because we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the creation of a mass organization called the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, a local mass organization formed in Oakland, California, under on very similar conditions that we live in right now. The African People's Socialist Party created that mass organization, the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, a predecessor organization of our International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, to fight for the democratic rights of African people. We know that the highest expression of democracy is self-determination. Today, we'll be talking about a specific application of that, which is a dual and contending power. We know that by way of the attacks against the Black Power movement of the 1960s, what we call the African Revolution of the 60s, that African people were pushed out of political life. We were demoralized. But we also know that Chairman Omar Taylor says just because Africans have not been won to the position of African independence to not assume that they're anti-independence. Instead, we can win them. So dual and contending power is an important strategy in winning the masses of African people to independence, but also practicing and preparing for independence now. For those of y'all that know the Bolshevik Revolution, you know that after the Bolshevik Revolution, the Bolsheviks had to go and to fund their new government, they had to rob the banks. But when you build dual and contending power, there's no such thing as having to rob the banks because we're building our economic future and our economic way forward as we speak. So I want to just salute everyone who's on the call and give you all a little bit of an overview of how today is going to go. As noted, we're calling this Dual and Contending Power, the Social Responsibility of African Internationalist Media, a Black Power 96 fundraiser and RNDP study. And the RNDP is the Revolutionary National Democratic Program, which is the program of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. If you're watching on Facebook or we're live on YouTube as well, go on and share because we will be raising resources for the we will be raising resources for Black Power 96. So the way we'll go today, we want to do an overview of the funding drive, want to give some announcements. Then we'll get into the study, the social responsibility of the burning spear. This comes from 1985 or so. Presentation given by Chairman Omar Shatella in Berkeley, California. It's specifically about the Burning Spear newspaper, but without a doubt, we know that it's a study that it should be used to understand the importance of Black Power media overall, the Burning Spear Media and Black Power 96 Radio overall. So we'll read about that, and we'll really talk about the difference between dual and contending power versus simply being alternative media. In some ways, the understanding of alternative media really assumes the permanence of the colonial hegemon. So to be simply contending or surviving or some form of alternative does not, we believe, correctly assume the ability for African people to govern ourselves, to be self-governing. So, moving, so, and like I said, so let's move towards some announcements and then we'll get into the study. I want to invite everyone right now, pull out your phones, your computers, and everything. Go to impedum2025.eventbrite.com. Go to impedum2025.eventbrite.com and register for the upcoming Impedum International Convention. It's to be held September 20th through 21st in St. Louis, Missouri. If you have not registered, and I see the registrations, so you can go to impedum .com and so impedum 2025 eventbrite.com and register. You can also find the registration at the homepage of the Impedum website, which is impedum.org, inpdum.org. Or you can go directly to inpdum2025.eventbrite.com. You can register for free if you are watching just virtually. You can register for one day for $15. You can register for 2 days for $25, and you can also register purchase tickets for comrades who want to attend but might not have the resources to purchase a ticket. We call that No Comrade Left Behind. And if you are a lifetime member of Impedum, which means a Marcus Garvey member, of course, your registration is free. So just go on and register for free as well. I want to salute the people who already have begun to register for our upcoming convention. But let's begin by talking about the importance of the Black Power 96 fundraiser. The goal I want to say here is that our goal today is to raise $500. That could be through donations today, or it can be through pledges. You can pledge as small as not as small, but anywhere from $5 a month on up to $10,000 a month. So a $5 a month pledge, of course, will track as $60 donation, just so you know how that goes. So let's say 10 people that pledge $5 a month will account for us raising $600 for Black Power 96. And I know that's something that we can do, that we can do. So what is the fund drive and how can you contribute? Black Power 96 Radio is 100% funded through donations from listeners and supportive businesses. You, our viewers, you power Black Power 96. Um, and institutions like Black Power 96. So on today's Impedum study, we are raising funds for Black Power 96 Radio, an important platform for our community to discuss African liberation. And when you travel through St. Pete and the Tampa area, it reaches all the way across the bay. It really is important to be able to hear African culture, African music, African political discussion, shoot, even on the weekends, gospel and things like that, but all coming from the position of African internationalism. The Black Power 96 goal is to raise $10,000 this month in donations through the July fund drive. The Impedum study, as noted, we have the goal of raising $500. And as they come in, I'll make sure to thank you all for your donations. We're calling on for donations from you, our study participants, to make your donation today, and we will announce it live on air. So we will announce your donations live on air. And we already have one pledge coming in from Comrade Jamal. So let's go on and write that down in the chat. But we have Comrade Jamal who has already kicked it off like Grammatica and uh, pledged $25, and Jamal gets that reference. Said Balo, kick it off like Grammatica. So Jamal, you kicked it off like Grammatica. It's a San Diego reference. so so yeah, so I want to salute everybody for pledging. Your donation support here's what your donations support. Donating to Black Power 96 radio keeps the community station on the air. It supports the Black community having its own radio station, self-reliant, community-controlled media capacity in the hands of the African working class. There's so much media that floats that is suggested to be Black media or from Black producers increasingly, but as you notice, it's just the same recycled nonsense that doesn't pit Africans in any light, no matter how well produced it is. And I'm not coming for anybody on here, but we know you can go to Stars and you can go to Showtime and all the shows everyone tunes in for weekly. These things don't produce Africans in a good light, and most importantly, they don't have a political way forward for any of us, unless that political way forward is assimilation into the mainstream or coming up in the dope game. Let's be absolutely clear. There's no way forward presented in this media, but we see a media controlled, a self-reliant, community-controlled media uh, uh, in the hands of the African working class. Black Power 96 is a project of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, which has a 30-year track record of developing institutions for African economic development and self-determination. As we noted at the top of this study, self-determination is the highest form of democracy. Supporting this station means that you are forwarding the mission of APEDF, African People's Education and Defense Fund. And as noted, our goal for today is $500. I know some other numbers are coming in. I'm um, moving through a couple different devices, so I'll be sure to make sure that I um, acknowledge everyone who is giving their donations. But you can get Black Power 96 on your mobile app, whether you're on Android or Apple. If you don't already listen to Black Power 96 radio, you can tune in on 96.3 FM in St. Petersburg, Florida, or you can listen from anywhere on blackpower96.org or on our free mobile apps. You can get the apps at your app store, be it a sort of an Apple App Store or on Google Play. So there's three ways to donate. You can donate today on Cash App by going to $ Black Power 96. You can mail checks to Black Power 96, 1245 18th Avenue South. And you can you can actually even put Tyrone Lewis Avenue if you really wanted to, and the mail knows to get it there. But 1245 18th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33705. Or you can go to blackpower96.org/BPT. Blackpower96.org/BPT and and donate today. On blackpower96.org/BPT, that's where you will become, you can even sign up to become a sustainer. So you can do one-time donation like we saw Comrade Jamal, or you can become a sustainer as well. Now, we want to give some thank yous. Thank you all for supporting Black Power 96. Black Power 96 will send a thank you to every person who donates. And we know that sort of, yeah, so, this is very important. No matter what you do, you will receive a thank you. At this point, we want to recognize some of our sustaining members of Black Power 96. And if I miss your name, as we always say, charge it to my head, not my heart. Nevertheless, we want to thank myself. I'm a sustainer. I want to thank Secretary General Mawezi. We want to thank Ina in California, MQ, Jamie, Johan, Janice, Diane in Florida, Absalom in New York, Aisha in Alabama, Jamal, Leah and Sarah in Minnesota, Fofi, Brendan, Kitty, Allison, Ruby, and Stephanie in Missouri, Michael in Wisconsin, Emmanuel in Maryland, Raya in Illinois, Sandy and Janet in Washington, Virginia in Indiana, Renee in Pennsylvania, Anne in Ecuador, Tress in Ottawa, Canada. So we got people coming all the way across from what they call the Great White North, to show unity with Black, with community radio in the hands of the African working class. These supporters give a monthly donation to provide a stable base of funding for the station. We encourage anyone who is not a monthly sustainer to consider giving that kind of consistent, reliable support to the station. $5, $10, $25 or more a month. We also want to shout out all the supporting members who have already contributed generously during this drive. There are too many names for us to name and to mention. So once again, if you didn't hear your name mentioned, we just want you to know that we really do appreciate you and your contribution. And once again, charge it to my head, but not to my heart. So we want to just give some shout outs. Want to salute our station manager, Eddie Maltzby. Some work we've done. We built it with our own black hands from the ground up. Our radio station. This is us building it from the ground up. This is young members. We see Comrade Iquan in the radio station getting his experience. Some other early work being done. This is when Iquan was in high school, if I'm correct, and would come and do a show. If I'm correct, the show was like a gamer based or a tech based show. I want to say black nerd, but I don't want to use that term incorrectly if it's being used incorrectly. But I know that was sort of the nature, and this was when Conrad Iquan was still in high school. Very very important work being done. Here's some more work being done and under the leadership of Comrade Eddie Maltzby Jr. This is other people inside the station. Here are more images from the station as well. So there's so much important work being done in Black Power 96. I want to salute Comrade Chukwu, who is so Comrade Chukwu, you can go. I'll bring that slide back up again for where you can go. You can go to blackpower96.org slash BPT. Let me bring this screen up one more time for you. Blackpower96.org slash BPT. Want to salute Comrade Chukwu for becoming a monthly sustainer. And let's look at some of the gifts that you receive when you become a sustainer. I mean, when you donate. So all people who donate will receive a custom Black Power 96 magnets. So all donors will receive custom Black Power 96 magnets. As well, if you give $50 today or become a sustainer of blackpower96.org at $5 or more, you will receive this very cool drop the charges tote. And I'm already a sustainer. I think I pay upwards of like $100 a month. So I'll be like, dang man, they giving out good new stuff. You know what I mean? So I'd be wondering, man, how I get the new stuff, you know what I mean? So I think to get this cool thing, I'm gonna have to pay $50 today. So let's see. I'm gonna have to let's see what the other give backs are before I stop at the $50 level. But that's an excellent, excellent, excellent gift right there. If you give $100 today, you get this a cooling headband at $10 a month or more, or $100 donation today. You get this cooling headband for everyone out there getting fit for the revolution as well. If you give $300 a day or become a sustainer at $250 or more a month, $250 a month, you will receive a Black Power 96 t-shirt. Excellent, excellent, excellent t-shirt. Uh, and for $60 today, you receive this custom Black Power 96 coaster. So that's $5 a month, or I need to make sure this is correct because I think we have two $5 um, coasters. I want to give a shout out to all the people listening on Black Power 96 in St. Petersburg, Florida as well. So I want to shout out all of the listeners who are listening live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Um, if you are in St. Pete, come on and meet us in St. Louis from September 20th to 21st at the Impedum Convention. You can go to impedum2025.eventbrite.com. That's INPDUM 2025.eventbrite.com. So yeah, I need to double up on some of these. It looks like there might be double gifts, maybe even a position where you can choose which gift you want. But for $60, you can also possibly receive this very cool coaster. And shoot, the truth is, you might want two of the coasters. Um, for there's a special give back for donors who give $100 or more, or we see this tote here, drawstring bag for $96. So we already have a lot of donations coming in. I really and donations and other pledges coming in. So I want to salute everyone who already are making donations and who are making pledges. Um, I want to salute Comrade Chukwu. I want to salute Comrade um, uh, uh, Jamal. Um, I'm going to go ahead and pledge $50. So I'm going to myself. I know I'm a normal sustainer, but I'm also going to go ahead and pledge $50 for myself. And we also got Comrade Lisa, We got Comrade Lisa coming out of Minneapolis. So I want to salute Comrade Lisa. And like I said, no number is too small. If you can't do $5 a month, but if you do $5 today, please feel free to go ahead and place that into the chat. But nevertheless, we know that I want to salute everyone that's watching, everyone that's listening. I want to remind everybody we are now live streaming on we are now live streaming on radio, so we want to be mindful of the fact that we're live streaming on radio, which you can't be cussing, just to be clear. You want to be mindful, and you want to be demure. Okay, so you want to be demure and mindful that we are live streaming on radio. So let me go ahead and check with some people and check with you all and say, who on here is interested in helping us read through today's study? Let's get a show of hands. We got Comrade MQ. Salute, Comrade MQ. I'll be calling on you. The document is about 6 pages, two-sided. So we should get through it in a good amount of time. After we get through it, we'll come back and we'll return to check in on our pledges for the day and see how we're doing. Comrade Jamal?
Comrade, I'll be able to read. I'm going to be in position for in about 10 minutes.
All right, Horo, salute. So we got Comrade. I want to salute Comrade MQ. Also salute Comrade Jamal for volunteering. So today like I said, we're talking about this question of dual and contending power. So I want to kick off with that. This question of what is dual and contending power, right? Dual and contending power is power in the hands of the African working class that is consolidated in the process of winning national liberation and defeating colonial capitalism, parasitic capitalism. The African People's Socialist Party has strategically established the aim of creating dual and contending state power controlled by the African working class. And that's what we're talking about today. It exists side by side with capitalism until the African working class assumes state power. Dual and contending power occurs when the revolutionary movement has gained territory, begins to build its own liberated state power. The people begin to be self-governing, solving all challenges to produce and reproduce real life for ourselves. And what it means to be colonized is that you produce and reproduce and producing and reproducing life for the colonizer. And nothing says that more than even the names that have been given to us and the language that have been given to us. So we're in the process of turning that over and producing and reproducing life for ourselves. And we're not waiting until the end of the revolution. We know that we're beginning that process now. That's the purpose here. The goal of the party is for the African working class to have the ability to control our communities and make them impossible for the colonial state to administer. What makes all of the programs of the Huru movement examples of dual and contending power is that they were created and led by the African People's Socialist Party, the Revolutionary Party of the African working class. The African People's Socialist Party is the instrument today needed to make the revolution. Building the party is the number one goal. The party's economic institutions and enterprises represent contending and dual international economic power and the seeds of an emerging independent African economy. The party is calling on Africans to lead all of our institutions, right? So this is dual and contending power, Uhuru. So are there any questions that I can answer before we get into today's study around this concept of dual and contending power. And once again, for the people listening on Black Power 96, I'm Matsamela Odom, host of Black Power Talks and president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Any questions before we get into today's study? All right, so what we'll do is we'll kick it off with comrade MQ. This is actually about 40 years old. So it's actually an excellent piece to read, especially when we commemorate the origins of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement with the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, because this presentation was 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 this presentation began and was given in February 1985, just a couple months before the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement was created. Now, one thing that I like to really say about this document that we're reading today is the fact that, we're talking about dual and contending power, and the oldest institution of the Uhuru Movement is the Burning Spear newspaper. But the truth is that, and we say the political and economic is one, but the truth is that impediment itself exists as a form of dual and contending power. I got some people who say, "Oh, I don't vote because I don't believe in elections," but then they vote every single year at the impediment convention, right? Your belief in democracy is not governed by whether you vote for one of the two bourgeois political parties, which are actually just two wings of the same party. And I mean, they're literally two wings of the same party, going back to what was once called the Democratic Republican Party. So, 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 so it's not governed by that. Africans can't do nothing without voting, right? We can't decide if we're gonna get Popeyes or churches today without voting. You know, so Africans we vote for everything. So no way should we concede that the democratic process is something contained by bourgeois institutions, because that's how counterinsurgency actually works. To be completely honest, right? The goal of counterinsurgency is for you to look away from the independence and self-determination, and to see the colonial state as the only option that you or your people have towards the way forward towards governance and things like that. And that's really a tactic of so when we so impediment itself is a dual and contending power institution, as we place democracy into the hands of the African working class. So, like I said, this was presented February 1985 in what's in Berkeley, California. Comrade MQ, let's have you start us off.
Social responsibility of the burning spear is to serve the oppressed and exploited Black working class. Oh, we greet you in that fashion because it means freedom. It is Swahili for freedom. We say it in Swahili because not without a little help from the media that we're talking about. A lot of people in this country think that Black people popped up here beneath a turnip green leaf or developed someplace on a plantation in the South. The fact of the matter, of course, is that before the current representatives of the media had command of the written word, Black people were in Africa and were existing in great civilizations. The social responsibility of the media, what media? In answering this question, I believe we have to be careful not to fall into the well-worn, cliche-ridden swamp of the dominant U.S. media. This position would have us believe that there is some kind of monolithic society with relations and responsibilities which bind us all equally, and unto which equal allegiance is due. Such is not the case. The fact is that within the current borders of the territorial United States of America, there are entire societies which support the existence of a dominant society. There are oppressor nations and national entities whose oppression provide for the general well-being of the oppressor nation. In addition to this, the societies divided into oppressor and oppressed are themselves ridden with a contradictory interest of class. When we view the social reality of the United States in this fashion, the answer to the question concerning the social responsibility of the media has a far greater chance of being addressed without the falsification and obscurantism so common to the dominant U.S. media. Likewise, the question, do the media tell the truth, has a greater chance of being addressed. The fact that there are oppressed and oppressor nations within the United States, and the fact that within these social configurations, within the oppressed and oppressor nations themselves, there are contending class forces seeking to achieve their own separate material interests, help us to understand that there is no one truth. There's the truth of the oppressed Chicano, Puerto Rican, Indian, and African populations within the United States. The truth for the African represents itself as extreme poverty and joblessness, early deaths by curable diseases, and infant mortality at rates which are double that of white people, a life expectancy rate which is 7 years less than that of white people, police terror, and a general state of induced community violence and insecurity. There is also truth for the oppressor nation, which, even as the above mentioned realities operative, revels in the so-called economic recovery in the U.S. and applauds the cold-blooded shooting of 4 black youths by white terrorists on the New York subway. But of course he was afraid, and of course white people are afraid. Black people react to that with no little amusement, because should history serve us, and should this media keep us aware of the history of our relationship, then every time a black person saw a white person, we would dig a hole to try to cover ourselves. We would scream bloody murder. We would go underground at the mere presence of white people, because history is, of course, that white people have committed terrible, terrible crimes against black people, and black people have not committed terrible crimes against white people. Of course, Mr. Gertz may have thought
Gets.
that
It's like gets. Gets.
Getz, Mr. Getz may have thought that the 4Us were going to enslave him for 430 years. He may have thought we were going to do such things as lynch him, pull him up by his neck, and drag him in the streets behind cars. If the U.S. media were capable of speaking the truth of the oppressed, it would not have been possible to run a single line, a single column, inch of copy on the Getz incident without talking about the brutality still suffered by the African people inside this country. But we're talking about the truth. There is the truth of the working white working class and the truth of the workers and impoverished people. There's the truth of the white ruling class. Each Each truth is locked to the material interests of the truth teller, of vice no less effective than the chains which bound black people in slavery and the bars which hold us stacked within the jails and penitentiaries throughout this land. As there are separate material interests within current U.S. borders, so there are separate media with different material interests that they seek to serve. There's the media of the white ruling class, which sits upon the heads of the oppressed peoples within the U.S., as well as the heads of the workers and exploited people within the oppressor nations. Some data have been put forward to address the question of the dominant U.S. media as a media too with a particular kind of interest. I do not agree with Mr. Wong from the Oakland Tribune that there is no such thing as objectivity. I think indeed there is objectivity, and that there is an objective reality that is experienced by the various peoples in this world. The question is, what objective material reality do any media represent? The question is, what objective material interest do the U.S. media represent? On that topic, it has been mentioned that there are approximately 1,699 daily newspapers within the United States. 155 chains own 1,175 of those 1,699 daily newspapers. I know that there is this myth about First Amendment rights and freedom of speech, and that somehow your little local newspaper is serving the interests of your community. But chances are your little local newspaper is owned by Gannett, which alone owns 87 of the 1,699 daily newspapers in this country. It owns more than any other communications company in this country. In the country. The 10 largest chains represent almost half of the circulation of the 66.2 million readers of the newspapers. You think that your information is coming from a diverse source. You think, or you think that your information about what's happening in your community is commanded by the interests of your community as you understand it. The fact of the matter is that you have a 50-50 chance that one of the 10 largest chains in this country is responsible for your opinion and the information you get concerning any particular event happening not only in your community but throughout the world. Gannett owns 35 non-daily newspapers, 16 radio stations, 7 television stations, the Gannett News Service, which feeds into the handful of locally owned newspapers that might still exist, the Lewis Harris Polling Organization. You think it's your opinion. TV production company, a national network of special printing facilities, and the largest billboard advertising company in North America. One wonders why the Oakland Tribune is said to be formerly owned by Gannett. We put formerly in quotes because no money changed hands. This has nothing to do with Mr. Wong. He doesn't claim to own the joint. Mr. Maynard claims to own the joint, and that was one of the fanciest deals that you shall ever see. They don't make those kind of deals out in West Oakland, where the Oakland Tribune holds up chasing and killing black youth in the so-called drug war. No wonder the so-called Robert Maynard owned Oakland Tribune has no comment, no concern about the situation in Oakland recently, where the city council decided that it's going to be illegal for people to put up posters because it's a disgrace and they look terrible. The people have no media other than posters and what is offered as our alternative media in the form of the little newspapers we put out. But Gannon, who no longer owns the Oakland Tribune, owns the largest billboard advertising company in North America. That's who we're competing with. Gannett, who no longer owns the Oakland Tribune. Gannett had a net income of $191 million and revenues of $1.7 billion in 1963. And this is despite heavy losses of the USA Today newspaper that it currently publishes. But it's not only Mr. Gannett who we're talking about. He's just one of the heavies. We're talking about the Hearst chain, which was originally based on a mining corporation. This has got nothing to do with the inquiring mind. This has nothing to do with the need to put out information to the people. This cat owns mines. It's a mining corporation, which brings us to another question in terms of impact that the dominant media has in this country. They also give endowments to universities such as this. I passed here on the Berkeley campus, the Somebody Hearst building. Did you know that the building belongs to Hearst? If you go to a university such as this and the building can belong to Hearst, you can be sure that your mind belongs to Hearst as well. Mr. Hearst owns several newspapers, magazines, several radio and television stations, and a news service. He's also competing for that handful of daily newspapers not owned by the chains. We're talking about a photo service, a feature syndicate, Avon paperback books, and he may own more than that
And
because this
let
is old data.
and let's have Jamal hop in.
Ooh,
So I just want to even stop it here because we're making good time. And actually, let's see if there's any questions, any clarity around anything that we saw. I had Comrade MQ speak on, because I think that there's this very strong part where Chairman says that Hearst, who owns the newspapers, owns mining companies, and he goes and Chairman says that what he said? He said he says if you go to a university and they have buildings named after Hearst, if you go to a university such as this and the building can belong to Hearst, you can be sure that your mind belongs to Hearst as well. And Chairman, as you know, this is initially a speech given at Berkeley, but the truth is, so what Chairman is doing here is actually doing some very, very deep African internationalist theorization in which he's showing what's called the relationship between the base and the superstructure, right? So this is the reason why we say our struggle for African people to be free is against colonialism and not racism, because we say colonialism is the ideological justification for racism, meaning that it's the ideological justification, meaning that it's what's called the superstructure. And we've talked about this before in these studies. The superstructure involves all aspects of our society that aren't directly involved in production, the forces of production. So, but what's completely involved in production is Hearst controlling the mining companies, right? So from that, you see him controlling the colonial media, and the colonial media reinforcing and the colleges overall reinforcing that relationship. So this is very, very strong stuff Chairman is talking about here. He says Hearst owns several newspapers, magazines, several radio and television stations, and a news service. But the thing I think about is, like, in this concept of dual and contending power, is us building our own base and superstructure right alongside that of the colonial capitalist society, the colonial capitalist base and superstructure. So from a base of African internationalism arises our own superstructure, our own sort of institutions to reinforce the freedom and the self determination of African people. And that is Black Power 96. That's Burning Spear Media. That is the Black Power Blueprint. That is Uzi Clothing and All African People's Development and Empowerment Project, and things of that sort, right? So we have our own base. And the truth is, we're not free yet, but we're preparing to govern. This isn't play and things like that. This is African people preparing to be self-governing. This is built on a strategy brought forward by Chairman Omale Shatella, who learned from the strategy handed down by Marcus Garvey. I was watching this documentary recently on Marcus Garvey, and Garvey, it was talking about the Black Star Line, because the colonial media and even education tries to lie and make it seem like they didn't have ships and all this other stuff. That's a complete lie. They had ships, and so it even caused some frustration amongst the ship captains, because there's this guy named uh, Herzog, I think was his name. He was the ship captain. He writes about it, that, like, they'd be, going through Central America picking up fruits and vegetables to deliver from one place to another as a part of Black Star Line. And the people would be coming to view the ships by the thousands. And Garvey understood the importance of this. Garvey would send them a telegram and say, "Hey, you need to stay in port another 2 days." This will frustrate even the ship captain, because the ship captain thinking that his primary objective is to move bananas from point A to point B. Garvey understood very clearly what was important was for the Black Star Line to grip the minds of the thousands of African people who want to come and see the living existence of the possibility and freedom of African people and African independence. So it's not simply that, but let's be clear. Garvey wasn't the only person with an economic venture at that time, but he's the only person with economic venture meant to redirect African people towards independence, and that's what made the UNIA a threat. That's what in 2022 made the African People's Socialist Party a threat. It's not a coincidence that on the weekend that we were commencing the Black Community Convention as well as the African Doula Project in a place where so many uh, uh, Black babies die a year that it could fill up 15 kindergarten classrooms, that we were attacked, right? That we were attacked. So this is this is Chairman laying out the material basis for the strategy of dual and contending power. Comrade Jamal?
Mhm. I just want to unite with that perspective that you're getting, that you're putting that forward, connecting then and now. Gannett still owns 250 newspapers today, and if you look at local media, Sinclair, I think it's called Sinclair Media, owns most or owns a large share of local um, news networks around the country. One of the things that they're doing is gutting the ability of these organizations to do things like follow your local city government, follow what's going on in the courts in your city. Um, Essentially, um, taking what little those colonial media institutions did that was good and removing even that, right, to enshroud what goes on in those halls of power to disenfranchise us as colonized people. And there's no real way to be informed under the colony when you're simply consuming a bunch of colonial media. You got the Burning Spear, you got Black Power Talks, you got Black Power 96. And I mean, this this is what we've got to wage that ideological struggle. Mhm.
Uhuru, Uhuru, yes, 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 yes. This is what this is this shows the material basis for us engaging in the war of ideas. I see Comrade Kyle, and Comrade Kyle asked the question, do you have any stats or info regarding um the judges named or vetted by Hearst? And if that makes any sense. And yeah, it does make sense. I don't have specific numbers per se, but we know for a fact that in the early 20th century, with his influence on both the Democratic and the Republican Party, William Randolph Hearst's economic and media empire was far-reaching and had a broad scale of political influence. In many ways, it actually makes me think of other economic giants currently who have um, their hands inside media. The truth is that, however, while we generally are talking about print media and radio, I think that we can even extend this control over media into the social media realm. I was really taken back recently because there was this so wild video that I saw, suggesting that, Black people in North America weren't from Africa. We're the original indigenous people here. It had some guy flying on a griffin. If you know what a griffin is, it's a part lion, part eagle, and all this other wild stuff. And none of it says that this is AI generated, and no actual sources support any of this. that this isn't true. It doesn't say that, right? You know, and my uh my whole stream is flooded with just complete brain rot, targeted at complete misinformation for African people on social media. Meanwhile, if you go out there and you post a fact about Gaza, it'll say, well, actually, 65,000 people have been reported to be killed, not 80,000. You know what I mean? They'll nitpick you down to something like that. If your number wrong about something like Gaza, but all this fake nonsense being put to just it's so I just want to say, we talk about, the traditional forms of media, but I think we can even think about the way through which the media titans have invested their interests in controlling social media. We saw that play out with this whole struggle over TikTok and stuff like that. But also, this one guy who's not, everyone thinks he's a car creator, but he's not. He's just a person with a whole lot of money who's invested in the car industry, who also controls an important a popular social media platform. So this is all part of it. Comrade MQ, and then we'll move back to Comrade Jamal.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like it's like a flood of what was it, American Aboriginal, Black Aboriginal, or whatever that trend is. And then uh and I'm not sure if they are there to like if they're an op or if they're like doing a psy war, because like the like with the Zionists, it's like regarding Palestine, then it's like, since probably 99 point or 9% of them are like either IOF soldiers or assets, Israeli assets, then it's like they're easily blockable. But then I don't know about the Africans who identify as Black Aboriginal people, if they are there because they sincerely believe it, or if they are sort of functioning the same way as Zionist propagandists do. Well,
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think without a doubt, it's a media complex imposed upon us by various and even discredited colonizer communities, elements of the colonizer community that they've discredited on their own, that have been methodically over the last really a third of 40 years imposed upon us as African people. But this is the importance why it's important for us to take African internationalism to people. African people know that they're not free. African people know that the existence that we have now doesn't reflect our true nature. African people have a natural and important skeptical relationship with anything presented as truth. Uh, 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 but as Chairman says here, right, he doesn't agree that sort of there's no such thing as objectivity. He believes that there's objectivity, and he believes that there's the how does he describe it? He said that he not only believes that there's objectivity, but he believes in the he when he disagrees with Mr. Wong or whatever. So he talks about the objective reality or the objective. I forgot how Chairman noted it right at the beginning of the speech, but nevertheless, yeah, I think it's sort of it's playing. It's intentionally playing. It's a counterinsurgency tactic of playing on the unfreedom of African people, and African people understanding that this isn't our natural condition, and that we deserve something more. So let's see if nobody's hand is up. Let's see. There's a couple comments in the chat. One is, like I said, want to salute the new podcast, One Africa Worldview podcast. You can watch this every Monday on Black Power 96, or you can listen to it on Black Power 96. You can watch it on Burning Spirit YouTube channel, which we are live on right now. Once again, I want to thank everybody for attending today. I want to remind everybody that today's study is a part of the Black Power 96 February Fund Drive. We, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, are hoping to raise $500 today. And that $500 being raised today can be done in any fashion. It can be done in a single donation. It can be done in a monthly pledge. I want to salute everyone who has who are pledging. I want to begin actually with Comrade Dylan. Comrade Dylan, who donated $60 as a has become a $5 a month sustainer. And Comrade Dylan in his comments says, "Long live Brother Sayero." I really salute you for that, Comrade Dylan. Thank you. So Comrade Dylan, $60. Comrade Robert out of Collegeville, five with a $5 donation. Thank you, Comrade Robert. Comrade MQ, $25. Uh, uh, um, Comrade Chukwu with a $5 monthly sustainership at 60, which comes to $60 total over the next year. Comrade Lisa, $25. Comrade Jamal with the pledge for $25. And I want to see if anybody could get like me. When I was a kid, we used to we ain't had no money, so you had to go to school with a quarter, and then if you had a quarter, you had to flip that quarter and you bet somebody else, say, get like me. And it was very risky because you could either start off the day with no money, or you could start off the day with 50 cents or more, right? So you say, get like me. You flip that coin, and if the other person's denomination, if the other person's if you land on head, they land on head, then they can take your quarter, right? So I'm gonna call on you all to get like me, and or to say, bitch, you can't get like me, bitch, you can't get like me. So get like me, and who else is willing to do a $50 pledge? And remember, that $50 pledge can be done in a one-time donation. That can be done in a series of donations as well. You can even just step that up, but want to salute. But nevertheless, right now we're halfway to our goal. We're about halfway through this study as well. So we are at a total of $250. We're at a total of $250, halfway through our goal and halfway through our study. We are at a total of $250. Want to salute everybody for that. So, Comrade Jamal, I'll call you up, Comrade Jamal, to begin at the top of page 169 on the study.
Or if you can share it on your screen, I did not see it in my email, comrade. Can y'all hear me okay?
Uhuru.
Oh,
And if you did get the HTML, it is inside the HTML. So if you look underneath the HTML announcement of today's study, there's going to be something say click. You can click it that way. However, what I'll do right now, I'll go ahead and place it inside the
there we
chat
go.
as well. Hold on a
That would be
second.
helpful.
Yeah, I'll place it inside the chat. I'm going to do that for you. But I'll continue to screen share. But for those that want to pull up on your own devices, I'll place a link inside the chat. All right, here you go, comrade. Oh shoot, let me stop this.
Oh, appreciate that. At the beginning, it's one wonders why the Oakland Tribune, or you said top of 169, or then of course the Night Rider chant.
The one where it says, then of course the Night Rider.
Then of course there's the Night Rider chain. owning newspapers as geographically disparate as Akron, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, Miami, Florida, Detroit, Michigan, and a host of other places. The Scripps Howard chain owns more than 20 newspapers, more than several radio and television stations, and a photo service and a feature syndicate. Times Inc. is a heavyweight. It is one of the largest industrial corporations in the United States, which owns magazines, radio and television stations, a book club, paper mills, timberlands, oil wells, and real estate. These are the dangerous media which serve to perpetuate the current social system of national oppression and class exploitation that we've been talking about. What do we mean then when we talk about social responsibility of the media? There is an attempt all the time to pick on the Oakland Tribune. It picks on us a lot to put forward this notion that we're all just one happy family if these if these loudmouths occasionally would shut up. After all, quote unquote, Oakland is the most integrated city in this country. They put out that garbage all the time, but they don't give you the data which helps people understand how this integration works out in the real world. In the real world, this integration is a police department whose vast majority is white, 85% of whom live outside of the city of Oakland. They are like the Contras in Honduras who come across the border to kill the Nicaraguans. They downpress the masses of the Black population in East and West Oakland in the so-called flatlands. The vast majority of them are white and live outside Oakland. The vast majority of the victims are Black and live in the flatlands in Oakland. That's your integration, a white police chief. The integration that we're talking about is one that has resulted in, at one juncture, a figure of around 10,000 homeless people. It's come down to quote unquote 300 now since the Uhura House became involved in the question. At least 60% of those were Black. Those are Black. That's integrated, all right. When 60% of the homeless people are Black. We don't know who the others are because the others, I guess, are not yelling loudly enough at the moment. That's your integration. Your integration is such that in Black Oakland, the infant mortality rate is 4.5 times higher than what it is for white Piedmont. That's your integration. Your integration is such that in Black Oakland, in East Oakland alone, we have a situation where more than 54% of all the residential property is owned by white people who live outside of Oakland, and more than 80% of all of the commercial property is owned by white people who live outside of Oakland. We have integration in Oakland. That integration is such that in a 5-year period, more than $300 million leaves the Black community of East Oakland alone in the form of rent. And somebody wants to know why there's a drug economy in Black Oakland. There's a drug economy, an illegal capitalist economy, because the legal capitalists have withdrawn the ability of the people to live. They know that's what it is. And the drug economy could not be here without the assistance of the people who operate the Port of Oakland, where the vast majority of the workers are white and not Black. They know this. But it's the Oakland Tribune where we read about the so-called drug kingpins, quote unquote. What drug kingpins in the Black community? There's no place where we process the poppy in Oakland, in the Black community. I read a newspaper article. I read a newspaper article the other day in the Oakland Tribune, probably, where someone from Milpitas got caught crossing the Mexican border with $25 million of heroin. If there's a need for a special task force, which is nothing but martial law, it's in Milpitas, not in the Black community of Oakland. So what are we talking about when we talk about the social responsibility of the media? We must first realize that we are talking about oppressed peoples. We must first recognize that we are talking about class differences. It is in the interests and it is the social responsibility of the slumlord to get as much as he can for the joint that the people are living in while doing as little as necessary for the place. It is the social responsibility of the tenant to pay as little for the joint that he is living in while getting his landlord to do as much as he can for the joint. That's that's the social responsibility. There are different social responsibilities. It is the social responsibility of the undertaker to get as many dead bodies as he can in East Oakland. He likes the fact that black people live 7 years less than white people. I don't care what color he is, because the fact of the matter is that his reality is tied to black people dying. It is my responsibility to live as long as I can. Someone wants to tell me that we have a common social responsibility. This media would have me believe that it is my responsibility to make my determinations not on my interests, my objective material interests, but on the question of whether someone made a good speech, or they're nice, or whether they believe in integration. They would have me believe that because the slumlord is a nice person, that because he loves his mother and perhaps even got married in a situation where his wife wore white, that I should give him all my money. They would have me believe that because the undertaker makes good speeches, I should accommodate him by dying early. We say no. There are different objective material interests at play. The people in this room, the people in this city, the people in the Bay Area, and the people in this country had best begin to understand what our interests are, what our interests are. In the 1960s, the Black Panther Party, at its peak, published 250,000 newspapers every week. The social responsibility at that time of the Oakland Tribune, which did not have on its masthead Mr. Maynard's name, was to hold up the interests of those forces who would destroy the Black Panther Party. In the 60s, at its peak, Muhammad Speaks, the publication of an organization that many people call the Black Muslims, had a distribution of 500,000 newspapers every week. You couldn't go to a city in this country where someone was not reading either Muhammad Speaks or the Black Panther newspaper. Nowhere could you find that. We had two social interests at work. We had several different social forces being responsible. The Black Panther Party being responsible to the oppressed and colonized Africans within the United States, and the Oakland Tribune even then being responsible to the same forces that it is responsible to now. We can call those forces by name. They're Cornell Meyer. They're named Robert Shetterly. They're the people who own and control Kaiser, who own and control Clorox and the Hyatt Hotel, and the people who, excuse me, and who keep the people down pressed and living in misery. Quote, when an opportunity is apparent to disrupt or neutralize Black nationalist hate type organizations through the cooperation of established local news media contacts, or through contacts such as sources available through the seat of government, in every instance, careful attention must be given to the proposal to ensure that the targeted group is disrupted, ridiculed, or discredited through the publicity and not merely publicized. Consideration should be given to techniques to preclude violence-prone, rabble-rousing leaders or hate groups from spreading their philosophy publicly or through various mass communication media, in quote, J. Edgar Hoover, FBI memo of August 25, 1967. Do the media tell the truth? Which truth? I want to say that we have similar experiences on this platform. I am particularly concerned with the experience that Mr. Wong has mentioned. For lack of a better term, I too come from immigrant parents. In this instance, it was a forced immigration. It was a forced annexation of a whole people who have been dropped in this North American hell and brutalized in the most vicious way, a way that the Oakland Tribune does not even have the ability to recognize. The Oakland Tribune can recognize a handful of shopkeepers with an integrated lynch mob in a downtown square begging for a war on crime. But with all the hungry people in the city of Oakland, we don't see anything about a war on hunger. With all the homeless people in the city of Oakland, we don't see anything about a war on homelessness. With Black people standing in cheese lines, standing in food stamp lines, standing in welfare lines, standing in unemployment lines, standing in bus lines. Is it any wonder that we're also involved in mainlining? Is there any wonder? Is there some mystery about this social responsibility of the media? We come from similar places, immigrants, forced immigrants in this case, who had no illusions. It wasn't that we thought there was a dashiki sale happening on the other side of the water that we thought we ought to catch. It wasn't that we thought that a few hundred years later, the United States entrepreneurs, as they are called, would be looking for somebody to run a basketball up and down a court. It wasn't that we knew there was going to be a market for Michael Jackson, a broken nose, broken faced Negro with so much goo in his hair that he can't stand next to a light bulb without it catching on fire. We were forced here. I worked on a newspaper too. I didn't have formal training. I was one of those things that they like to talk about during Black History Month, quote unquote, a Negro first. And I enjoyed being a Negro first. I had read all the media like the barbershop philosophers do. The most intelligent Negro you can find is someone who reads all the daily newspapers. My daddy used to call us educated fools, and he was right. Because we spout that garbage that Mr. Wong helps them to cover up, and Mr. Wong is perfect for it. Just like Lionel Wilson and all those people downtown are perfect for the cover, excuse me, are perfect for the cover for Black people in this community. I was a quote unquote Negro first. I was the first Negro, quote unquote, copy boy for a newspaper in St. Petersburg, Florida, an enlightened Southern community. At the time, the system was more honest. They called us copy boys. I was the first Negro proofreader for that. I was the first Negro apprentice printer. I was promised to be on the way up to be the first Negro editor of the newspaper, but something happened to change all that. In 1966, James Meredith had the audacity to think, to prove to everybody, that a Black man by himself could walk across Mississippi without any fear. He called it a march against fear, and he made out on his trek. He might have made it about 30 yards, and a white man hiding in a ditch shot him down with a shotgun. And the consequence of him being shot, Black folks from all over the country decided to finish the Meredith March. I was one of them. I was a young, quick handshaking, nice Negro on the way up. And I went to the cat I worked for and said, I'm going on that march in Mississippi. It's an important march. I want you to give me a leave of absence. The boss said, No, Joe. At that time, they called me Joe. During that time, I thought that's what my name was. That's because the media didn't help me to understand that my history didn't start in a cotton patch in the South, and that where I come from, people aren't normally called Joe. He said, No, Joe, you can best serve your people by working hard right here at the St. Petersburg Times. They can see your example of hard work and progress, and now we'll do it. I said, No, man, I'm going on a march. So the best thing you can do is give me a leave of absence so I can split. But rather than do that, they fired me from the job. Now, there is another way, Mr. Wong. There is another way. They fired me, and it was probably the best thing for both of us. As a consequence of having being fired, I worked real hard to be socially responsible. And so, consequently, we have here the burning spear. There is another way. We talk about the quote unquote pull of the advertisers and the marketplace. That's the same marketplace that helps y'all to hate the Iranians who take back their oil. It's the same marketplace that gets those people who look like Mr. Wong killed sometimes because somebody might mistake him for a Japanese who's being competitive with the same corporations upon whose advertisements the Oakland Tribune relies. It's the same interest that the invasion of Grenada is a consequence of, and the poor heroic people of El Salvador and Nicaragua right now are anticipating an invasion from. There is another way. We don't consider ourselves alternative media. We consider ourselves a contending force. A contending force. We are not attempting to exist side by side with the Oakland Tribune. One must survive and the other must be wiped out. Unite with the $90,000 campaign to build the burning spear. Unite with the Black workers who went on strike against the Oakland Tribune, precisely because it has no place for Black working people. Unite with the Black workers who called for a boycott precisely because the Oakland Tribune has no place for Black people except Mr. Maynard, who they say owns the Oakland Tribune. So we don't see ourselves as alternative media. We see ourselves in fierce contention with the media. The Oakland Tribune recognizes this, and we recognize this. We ask for no quarter, we give no quarter. We are the most audacious forces that you might find. A handful of us with a 24-page publication that comes out monthly, but we know how the contradictions that we began speaking about will resolve. There will be a time when there will no longer be oppressed nations. There will be a time when there will no longer be exploited classes. And it is our responsibility, our social responsibility, to hold up these struggles of the oppressed nations and the exploited classes, to go out into West Oakland and to give real information to the workers in West Oakland, and not some garbage about Ann Landers or some nonsense about horoscope that is designed to keep the masses of the people out there with their minds in the sky while Mr. Kaiser's cutting the very ground out from underneath their feet. We are the contending forces. We have enough faith in ourselves and the history of an informed people to believe that we will win. As they say in places that the Oakland Tribune does not like to write about favorably, Magbar imperialism in Farsi. Spoken in Iran, this means death to imperialism. Thank you. February 1985, Berkeley, California Forum on Does the Media Tell the Truth? Uh-huh.
Cool. And so is your voice AI generated, or is that's the actual voice?
That is how I sound. That's
Oh,
why I
okay.
don't that's why I usually don't speak.
Man, that's a heck of a voice, man. Nah, you did great.
Oh, thank you. I did used to work in the radio a little bit.
Very powerful read. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Beautiful.
thank you.
yeah, you did excellent. You did an excellent job. Man, let us I'm going to eventually end up sharing with you all the a copy of the actual the video of this event. I'm gonna have to pull it off of our YouTube production of what's going on. I want to also salute Comrade. Before we get started, I want to salute Comrade Comrade Kabula, who has pledged $100, taking us to and then Comrade MQ with another $25. Salute Comrade MQ, and Comrade Frank out of Newcastle, Pennsylvania for $60. So that takes us to $435. So we're only $65 away, everybody, from our goal. And so we talk about, building a dual and contending power, and building a dual and contending power media. Um, uh, 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 I want to go again and show you all what you get when you donate. So want to all supporters are going to get this Black Power 96 magnet. If you give $50 today, or become a sustainer for $5 a month, you'll get this Drop the Charges Against the Uhuru 3 tote bag. For $100, you get the sweatband. Uh, for $300 or more, or $25 a month sustainer, you're going to get this Black Power 96 t-shirt. So, so I want to once again thank our readers. I want to thank Comrade MQ. I want to thank Comrade Jamal for reading. I'm going to try to see if I can pull up an image of that event very quickly, to share with you all. Because we have if we want to talk about dual and contending power. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm sitting here wondering. Uh, I know that I have read this article page for page recently, and I don't think it was inside a study. I think it was. Um, inside an article that I recently wrote for the Burning Spear newspaper. And the article is titled University Unveils Unveils a digital collection of Uhuru history, video, audio recordings added to 50 years of the spear. And you can visit the Spear archives by going to theburningspear.com/archives, and you can get, like I said, thousands of hours, thousands of pages of the Burning Spear, as well as Uhuru Movement video recordings. I right now, I don't have, someone will be transferring me the video. Okay, I think we have it in email, so let me go in and check it right now and pull it up with you. So this is actually, if you go to theburningspear.com/archives, it'll take you to the print archives. I'll also place in the chat right now where you can find the video recordings. And this is actually a video recording of the event that we just witnessed. We won't watch the whole thing, but it might be audio recording. Let me see. Oh no, it's video. Wow.
Also addressed to us. It's entitled America Applauds. Okay.
Mr. Kennedy as a representative. These are certainly not the issues.
And that got onto TV.
disrupt or neutralize black nationalist hate-type organizations through the cooperation of established local news media, local news media contacts, or through such contacts with sources available to the seat of government. In every instance, careful attention must be given to the proposal to ensure the targeted group is disrupted.
So that's a live image of Chairman giving his presentation at Berkeley. We saw as a part of this larger forum on whether the media tells the truth. This is all extremely remarkable stuff. Um, One thing that I think that I so go on and check that out. I even share this article with you because I do think that what we see right now is we see the way to which African internationalism has gripped the masses, and I think that the crisis of imperialism taking place right now shines the light even what was sort of causes the flame of the burning spear to shine even brighter. Yeah. So there's so much more stuff that I think we can speak towards, but yeah, it's so much important stuff. So I'll place this article even in the chat, which speaks to the archive. But nevertheless, I want to let me check back in on the donations. We're still about $65 away from our goal for the day, which is $500. So that's 13 people giving $5. So if
Um,
Comrade Kyle, how you doing?
Hi, thank you so much. Actually, Betty Davis was requesting the direct link because she is pledging 65, and then Comrade Ahmed is pledging also 60 as well. So we've topped it.
Okay, so I'm going to place the link in the chat if it's a lot easier that way.
Yeah, it might be
I,
helpful. I just wanted to say this is probably redundant, but how relevant that speech is, and it's so old, but it is reflective of exactly what's happening today, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you. I'm grateful to be a part of today. Thank you.
oh, thank you. Yeah, so that is we've just pasted the link in the chat. So it's blackpower96.org/BPT. Or you can click the link. Yeah, and thank you, Comrade Kyle. So I think what I heard was that there was Comrade Betty Davis who had pledged $65. Want to salute you, Comrade Betty Davis. There's Comrade Ahmed, Ahmed Ahmed, who has pledged $60 as well. Salute you on that, Comrade. And then there might have been another person, if I was correct. Did you say, Comrade Kyle, you were pledging something or no?
Uh, I'm going to.
Oh, no. I'm just making sure I got everyone's name down.
Yeah,
The people in the chat. So who were the people in the chat that you had mentioned?
Ahmed and Betty Davis. That's it for now that I saw.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uhuru, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that takes us $60 over our goal for today. We do want to see if we can push towards 1,000. We got so let's see if we can push towards 1,000 once again. That can be done through two people giving $50 a month. Uh, 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 um, Actually, that'd be done through one person giving $50 a month. That would take us to over $1,000 in our pledge. So So let's go ahead now and let's open it up for discussion in the last 20 minutes of today's study. I saw a couple hands. I think I saw your hand, Kyle, and I saw some other people's hands. Comrade Chukwu. Oh, sorry, Comrade Kyle.
No, I said what I was gonna say. I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Or thank you, Comrade Chukwu.
I just want to salute the study and everyone who participated in it. It's in kind of like Kyle was saying. It's insane how relevant the entirety of the speech was, but it also goes to show as well how really nothing has changed. Yeah, like at least and it's so profound when you grow up in learning from like the colonial education, because we are made like Africans, we are made to think that like right at the when the Civil Rights Act was signed by Johnson, you know, despite all the quote unquote hardships we went through, we finally achieved this great change and everything is different. And that's mainly the argument you'll hear from people. But then you hear these speeches or read these writings, they're so old. And if someone did not tell me it was written in the 80s, I would be like, oh, who wrote that? Like if it feels so modern that it doesn't make any sense. But the only way that that's the case is if, in fact, the superstructure has not changed, or we never addressed the superstructure in the first place, and so we're just literally biding our time 25 years into the new millennium, and the superstructure is the same superstructure has always been, and we're just we're really trying to actually affect it now. So, ooh.
Uhuru, you know what? I want to really salute you for what you just said, because that was, and then you said what I was going to say, because you mentioned this term modern, right? Modern. And the thing is, oftentimes we assume modern or modernity is done by the shift of certain advents of certain inventions, when the camera was created, when incandescent light was created, when the airplane was created, and things like that. But the true modernizing moment is the advent of the colonial mode of production. So when you say, okay, here's something from 40 years ago, and it seems like it could be written today. But remember the study we did on Juneteenth when we went all the way back to, or was it right before July 4th or something like that? We did What to the Slave is the 4th of July. And and we went back to the 1840s, and you read the writings of Africans then, and it looks like, what they're laying out right now. I mean, you got this question of the newspaper, and you had two comrades. You had Comrade Mark Delaney, and then Comrade Frederick Douglass, who were waging struggles through the question of the media back then. And this is specifically in question of the newspapers, where Delaney says that us Africans have the same position with our white friends that we do with society overall, a mere underling position. That's what he says. So he's basically identifying what we know and call ideological imperialism. He says, "Hey, in the abolitionist movement, and specifically in these newspaper offices, even back then, they just want us to tell our stories." And to play the impoverished slave, but not to sort of project our own way forward. Uh, we talked about how Delaney went and created his book, that book Blake, also known as The Huts of America, which was meant to be a counterpoint to Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin. So I think you're correct, and you go back further and further than that to the 15th century, and you say, man, this sounds like they're talking about right now. right? Because in many ways, we are trapped in that same, even while technology changes and clothing changes and even language changes, we're trapped in that same time warp because of colonial capitalism. So what you said was very profound, Comrade. Comrade Nathaniel. And welcome, Comrade Nathaniel. We haven't seen you for a while.
Yes, how you doing? How
We're
you doing,
good. How you
comrade?
doing? I'm well. And yourself?
Well, first I want to recognize brother Sayero, the one that passed away.
Yes.
All right, I actually have been discussing a lot of things with him prior to that, so pretty much kept me abreast of some things. And then we talk about some other things, and we were supposed to get together and then try to get a little small circle on a few issues. I think that should be brought out, and especially need some clarity on some things, especially in dealing with our history as slaves. Uh, I'd like to say that for another day, if you don't mind. I will be attending uh, from here on out, which, in all due respect to Mr. Sario, it's just so, it's man. Hmm, I'm gonna miss the guy, and I think one day we need to do a tribute to him. I don't know if you guys done it already.
No, we have not, and we will be. And also at the upcoming Impedum convention, we're going to open up the convention with a tribute to Comrade Sayero. But there'll be some stuff virtually before then as well.
Right,
So
but I
so
will be
yeah.
attending. If you don't mind, I don't know if you actually have my email. We can exchange emails where I basically can have a schedule that I can follow you guys.
Okay.
That'll work.
Yes. Yeah, that works. So we'll get that out to you.
Yes, sir. And looking good, my man. You're looking good.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you. Uhuru.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot.
And hello,
Thanks a lot.
everybody.
All right, Uhuru. Thank you.
Uhuru.
So let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else? And salute Comrade Nathaniel. Yeah, and that's a hard one. That's a hard one. We lost a real warrior. You're talking 60 years in the struggle for African people to be free. Yeah. So Comrade Kyle.
I'm sorry for y'all's recent loss. That's never an easy thing. It's a lifelong walk. Grief is. Um, I wondered if you're ever going to cover the generational trauma. I feel like I myself, looking back at my culture, back at my family, we get hung up on staying in the same perpetuating cycles, and that keeps us distracted and from growing. And I think we, as a human, uh, in humanity, I should say, struggle with that a lot. We with the pressures that be with how hard it is to just live. I understand that we only have so much bandwidth to deal with all the emotional interpersonal baggage, but I feel it's poignant to discuss and really uncover, so that we prevent making the same ugly mistakes.
Mhm. Yeah, last week we talked about France Fanon, and there was a program that the movement, the one of our sister organizations, the All African People Development and Empowerment Project, had been doing a few years back. It was called the Aya Resistance Circles, and it was a mental health education program centered around the understanding that giving people mental health skills to so that they could engage in the project of resistance, right? So it's not, and that to me is a question of dual and contending power, right? So it's mental health as a part of dual and contending power, not simply just surviving inside this system. So much of what we do as people, and the other thing, but there's something you mentioned that I thought was interesting, right? Chairman talked about the objective reality. Well, the truth is that what I think Chairman would agree is that the colonial mode of production actually creates a shared relations of production between both the colonizer and the colonized. So, a part of dual and contending media, the role of dual and contending media is to increasingly show even to the colonizer community the way forward for all of us to overturn our contradictions is in the anti-colonial struggle. That's the and the crisis of colonialism has made it even more evident nowadays as necessary because of the fact that that base that even the colonizer population used to rest upon isn't there anymore. We see the public services being slashed. We see housing. We see, I mean, geez, I came into political life concerned with the crack cocaine epidemic. But the truth is that, crack cocaine epidemic pales in comparison in terms of its death toll to this opioid epidemic. The way in which fentanyl is killing people left and right. And on social media, you hear somebody passed away, and all they say is, well, blah, blah, blah. At least they're out of their pain now, or something like that. And then you find out that this person, age 20 something, and OD'd on some fentanyl lace X, Y, and Z, and things like that. All that is an example of the colonial mode of production, the colonialism in crisis, and that it can no longer solve its solutions. Right now, they promise people jobs, and all they got is deportations. They're hoping that there's a sort of a capital towards people witnessing deportations and the violence of the state. But the truth is that it's important for us with dual and contending media to show to dual and contending media to show the truth and to show the way forward for everyone. And the truth is that the politics of the way we work in the Uhuru movement with our solidarity contingent is evidence of the fact that for 50 years, white people have seen that the road to socialism is painted black. The road to the future of humanity is in overturning colonialism because we can create a new world. We can create a new world in which people don't have to live at the expense of other people. Don't everybody want that world?
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
everybody want that world? You know what I mean? So right on. So I want to check back in. I know we're going to have a hard stop today because we are live on air. We're going to have a hard stop at 10 Eastern at 7 Pacific. Like I said, because we are on air. But but I want to salute Comrade Ahmed or Ahmed. I think it's probably Ahmed for the $5 donation. I want to salute Comrade Betty Davis for the $65 donation. I want to salute Comrade MQ for the $50 today. I want to salute Comrade Frank out of Newcastle, Pennsylvania for $60. I want to salute Comrade Dylan for $60 and really want to salute you for bringing forward the name of our long lost a hero, Comrade Saero. And if you just want to just do something, go to your wherever you query your news, go to whatever internet search engine has news, and just put in the name Dennis Knowles. Knowles, and you'll see the magnificent long history of struggle the comrade was involved in. He's a person who didn't just talk about it; he lived it. Comrade, like I said, Robert out of Collegeville, Pennsylvania, $5. Comrade Chukwu for $6, and Comrade Jamal for $25. All of that takes us $5 over our goal for today. Um, and yeah, Uhuru, thanks, Comrade Kyle. We really welcome you. Make sure you come back. Next week, we're going to be doing our build up, beginning our build up for the convention. And we're going to be reading from Chairman's 2022 political report and his section on the crisis of imperialism. Because there's a lot of ways in which people have tried to sum up the crisis of imperialism, crisis of colonialism over the last 50 plus years by using this term that they try to use called neoliberalism. But the truth is that the way in which I even describe neoliberalism as a term is just neoliberalism is just when the white working class began to experience the economic crisis, the crisis of colonialism that African people had been suffering for decades, even towards that time. Like, I mean, there's literally this point in the 70s and 80s where they start talking about the loss of jobs and manufacturing being sent overseas and all this other stuff, things like that. Well, if you want to just talk about that, the sort of automation and outsourcing of work and labor, you go back to the 1950s. There was a guy by the name of James Boggs out of Detroit in the 1950s who had already written about all that stuff. But what happened was that at that time, as jobs and homes and misery was being ripped out of the African community, and misery was being placed on the lives of African people, it was being done to make the lives of white people better. That's why every time whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, the exact moment I think they all imagine is the 1950s when they say make America great again, or when Bernie says we need to reestablish this the moment of the American middle class, when all this stuff. Both groups are talking about the 1950s. Let's be clear. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about that same period, but that same period was built on top of misery. In like a decade alone in Detroit that year, did you know that there was like in like a decade that decade to 20 years coming out of World War II in Detroit alone, there was over half a dozen recessions that hit Detroit. But this is when the white community was moving out. And let's say that some people talk about white flight being the flight of people after the uprising. That's not true. The real white flight started to happen in the 1940s, 1950s as the businesses and as suburbanization started happening and strip malls and drive-in movie theaters and all that stuff was being, and Levittowns in New York were being built. That was the original white flight, right? What happened after 67, that was just the icing on the cake and stuff like that. But what happens is now that's gone away. People are concerned. They call it neoliberalism, but they want to go back to that period. But we don't want to go back to that period. Dual and contending power ain't about going backwards. It's about us moving forward, comrades. It's about us moving forward. So we're going to be talking about that because Impedum is excited. We're not excited because the hurt and the misery people are dealing, but we're excited because we know that sort of we've been on the trajectory towards leading African people towards freedom and independence. So that's what we're going to be talking about in as our build up for our convention. We want to remind everybody to go to impedum.org. There at our website, you on the homepage, you can register for the upcoming convention, or you can go directly to Eventbrite at Impedum, INPDUM 2025.eventbrite.com and register for the Impedum convention. I want to thank everyone that's viewing on YouTube, on Facebook, all the listeners that we have listening on Black Power 96. What we say with Black Power 96 is we not just explaining the world, we're changing the world. And that's what dual and contending power is. So, everybody, we'll see you all next week. Uhuru. and I'll get off my soapbox.
Vengo, no, ragazzo.